Hello, America. It's American Jett Eye Tone Man, aka Mr. Why Not, aka Mr. Dick with Eyes, aka the promoter. Here today to talk a little bit about where we left off with Officer Nunez and that whole incident, and to also promote another business. Well, after being arrested, I went to court and I was facing 4 years for resisting arrest and allegedly assaulting a police officer. Well, I was issued a public defender, or as many of you call them, a public pretender. Um, and the first thing that she did was she looked up my past arrests, and she brought up an incident that happened when I was 19 years old, took place in Santa Barbara, and then another incident that took place about maybe 4 years prior to this current event. So when she brought up the incident that happened when I was 19, that was so long ago. I went to court actually and fought that. I was facing a year in jail for something I didn't do, and if I was to lose, I would go to jail for a year. Um, and so I went to court and fought that because what happened was I was with a group of friends. We were all young. Most of us had just graduated high school. And my friends picked me up for my job, and we went out to Isla Vista to go party because that was the party place back then when you were 19, 18. And, we entered a party. We weren't invited, but no one prevented us from going. That was the way Isla Vista rolled back then. It was just a big party. Eventually, one of my friends who was with us took over the DJ stand because that's what he does. He's a DJ. And so, we took it over, and apparently they didn't like us there. So they asked us to leave. And, we didn't argue. We're not troublemakers. So we left. And as we were leaving, we had all been drinking. Some of us were maybe a little intoxicated than others. But we were leaving, We didn't want no trouble. We didn't want to cause no trouble. We didn't want trouble. So as we're leaving, someone said, "Get out of here, you red faces, you know? Get out of here, you fluffy feathers. Go back to your teepees." So, you know, us being warriors, you know, one of them threw a beer bottle and it hit me on the back of the head. And so, the rest of my friends were up walking and I was the last one behind. So when it hit me in the head, I was pissed. So I went back to that party, opened up the door and proceeded to cause trouble because we were leaving peacefully. But, now that we are away from them, now that they were in, felt like they were in safe distance, they figured they could yell their racial slurs to us and throw objects at us. Well, me being me, I just can't do that, because that's not right. We didn't cause no trouble. We were respectful and we left. But now you feel brave and you want to throw objects at us. So I went back, went in the door and I proceeded to handle things that I thought were righteous. And, I tried to take on the whole fraternity, by myself. Um, Unfortunately, thankfully, my friends came back to my rescue. Before I knew it, I was on the ground being kicked. And then everybody ran to the door to prevent the warriors that were coming in because we were the red faced warriors. So eventually, we started getting the advantage on them. And, us being warriors, after a while, we pretty much started to dominate. Now I started feeling guilty and I started helping up all these other individuals. And later that night, we got arrested. Somebody said somebody did something. I don't think that person did. We had to go to court. He pleaded guilty. Me, I fought it, so they had to line up all of us that night. And if 2 out of 3 people picked me, then I would go to jail for a year. So, I believe in fighting for what you believe in. So we went to court. Luckily, I won. So that was dropped. But, they brought that up. So when she brought that up, I told her, I was proud about that. I'm proud I stuck up for myself and for my red faced warriors. And so, obviously, you know, I don't know what this made her think about me, but probably not in a positive way. And then she brought up another incident where I was arrested for disturbing the peace, but it was the most minor fraction. I mean, I was convicted for something because I was invited to a campsite. This is when I was losing those homes, and I went to the beach um, to clear my mind because I love being in nature. Um, and so I was out there, and when I was walking back to my vehicle, I was asked to, join a campsite. So I joined the campsite, and mind you, I was under a lot of stress. I mean, I was losing these homes, and I was going to have to use the rent that I was collecting on one of these homes to pay for my mortgage because too much money was going out than what I was making. So I had to make a move, and I didn't know what move was right. It was a stressful point in my life, and I didn't really have anybody to turn to because I didn't really know anybody that had been in my shoes before. So I was up for 6 days, and you know every day up until this time, you sleep less and less and less and less until after a while there's no sleep. And which is fine. I could function without sleep, but what happens when you don't sleep is your filter gets turned off. What you think, what you would normally keep from saying is gone. So you say what comes to your mind without thinking. And well, I said something, and this person was upset, and I don't blame him. So we kind of got in a pushy match. My glasses fell off, and then he hit me. And I don't blame him for hitting me. I mean, I probably would have hit me too, because my filter was turned off. I had said something which I didn't mean. I really didn't mean it, but it was said. And so when he punched me, I punched him back like, I'm quicker, faster, and stronger than you. Don't do that again. And so I fell to the ground because I I didn't want to fight. So I did it like a yoga stance because I did not want trouble. I didn't want to cause trouble. I didn't. My glasses got knocked off in the pushing, so I couldn't see. So I didn't want to run once again. So eventually, I was arrested, and when I went to court on that, I was given a public pretender, and we kept going to court over and over and over, and finally. I was like, man, I'm tired of going to court. This is ridiculous, because they're kind of hoping that you don't show up to court. Because if you don't show up to court, it's like a $10,000, fine. And they were trying to contact these people who were there at the state park, and they didn't want to answer. And so I was just tired of going to court, and I said, look, I'll just plead guilty to whatever, to the most minor charge, because my public defender kept saying, you need to be responsible and plead guilty. I mean, be responsible for your actions. Like, I was invited to that campsite. It's not like I just showed up. I was invited. But, instead of acting like a public defender, he's acting like the district attorney. He's pretty much telling me to admit guilt when the people who had me arrested or that were there actually, didn't want to file charges. They didn't want to pursue it. But him being a public pretender, really working for the city of Santa Barbara, said I needed to take responsibility. So I took responsibility. I said, all right, I'll take the most minor thing I could possibly, the most minor thing. Because really, this was BS. It should have just been dropped, and, that should have been the end of it. So I pleaded guilty. Now, the district attorney, oh, he thinks he's so big and bad because, I pled guilty to the most minor thing. He's just like, well, I'll show him. Because, he kept looking at me, mad dogging me, and I'm like, what the heck is this guy looking at? Why is he looking so tough? So he decided to give me community service for the crime. So I was given 300 hours of community service. 300 hours. Now, when I went to go do my community service, I decided to do it in Carpinteria Cemetery because it's the most prettiest place I could think of. It's beautiful over there, and my grandmother's buried over there. So I took the 300 hours. When they got there and they told me how many hours, I told them how many hours I had, and they found out how many hours, they were just like, "What the hell did you do?" Because there was like another guy there who was doing community service, and this guy stabbed someone, stabbed him. You know how many community service hours he got? He got 25 hours. No, 24 hours. He was actually a nice guy, you know. I actually landed up renting him a room, years later. But that's another story. So then back to the situation with Offer Nunez. I want to fight this trial. I want to take it to trial because I didn't do it. And I believe, you got to stick up, for something you didn't do. You got to stand up for yourself. But I was looking at 4 years in prison if I lost. 4 years. And my public defender or pretender, she said, "You know what? I know you did it. I know you did it." Now, I have respect for that public pretender because at least she had the balls to tell me, "You know what? I think you did it." But how in the hell am I supposed to go continue this defense with this attorney who thinks I did it? She's not going to represent me, I don't think right because she doesn't, believe in me. I want to be believed. But then, they have an audio of me yelling, cussing, I'm angry. I sound like a lunatic. So, I hired an attorney. Costed me $7,500 for this attorney. And so when we went to court, you're not allowed to really say anything, right? The lawyer does all the talking. So, Officer Nunez gets on stand, and I'm gonna take the plea deal because now if I take a plea deal, I get a